Okay, in this lesson, I'm going to try to add a couple more paths. I'm going to add a path to blur this child's head, and I'm going to try to add another path to unblur this path, so we can make sure that this child's head remains unblurred. So let's try that out. So let's go ahead and we're on our same adjustment layer, which has the blur on it, and we're going to add a circle to this child's head, and as you can see, it turns out blurred. And so we're down here. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to add a keyframe to the very beginning, and it gets way off path here. So I'm right about here. I'm going to move this path over to his head to keep his head covered, and let's move a little bit farther. And let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Actually, let's try to get the shape of his head kind of like that. There we go. Okay. And let's move it up here to the very end, which is right about here. And let's move that shape up here. And I'm actually double clicking, and I'm kind of shift clicking on these points here to kind of get the shape closer to around his head there. Kind of like that, yeah. That way I've got a shape a little bit closer to his head. Kind of take a look at some of the frames and see how far off they are. And I'm just clicking on this square one here. Make sure all these points are selected, that way it moves. See, that one's way off. Let's go about midway in between these two keyframes. Drag it over his head. Maybe halfway in between the next two. Move it. Like that. I'm going to try halfway in between these two keyframes. Move it. Halfway in between here. Oh, that one looks actually pretty good. Maybe about down to here. This one looks a little bit high, so let's lower it a little bit. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And so right about there where this boy's head goes over, we want his head to be clear. So let's create another mask for him. So a third mask. Okay. So we might do the ellipse tool. And right now you can see that it blurs his face. But in order to get it to work, we'll just do subtract. And let's make sure we get a keyframe in here. Let's open this up. Do a keyframe for mask path. And we got subtract. And maybe we'll move it about right there. And let's move this over his head, right about there. And move that about there. And you can kind of see oop, guess we got to keep on going. And about there. Add another one. And I don't need that mask anymore, so I'm just going to give it one more keyframe right about there. And I'm just going to move it off screen. So it goes whoop. And let's take a look at that a little bit. And let's see if we can do it without, I'll click on the mask path. So you can kind of see that, as you can see these blurred circles, and you can kind of see where his head goes over and it remains unblurred. You can still see the child's head closer, and that's when you want to get into the mask tool. That way you can really get in there and get the shapes perfect. You can get the shapes of the kids' heads perfect, and you can get his head to fit in there real nicely. So that's what we'll do next. We'll create these masks using the pen tool. And that's the end of this lesson.